And we're live. I love it.
Welcome everybody that's joining us.
Yeah, I don't think I've done a podcast in 2 weeks because I've been out of town at conferences. So I'm really excited to be here.
Good.
How are you doing? Dave and I were just talking about the difference between morning and afternoons based off of your lifestyle.
Well, it started, I sleep in a little bit later than most in the mornings because my workflow for design is more in the evening. That started being a single parent to 3 kids and in the construction field. So working all day, coming home to take care of the kids. And then after bed is when I was able to get to design work, estimates. And since I did that for so many years, that just ended up my workflow. I feel more creative about 9 o'clock at night.
Well, also because there's no distractions, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, I get up every morning. We remodeled our house. We had a flood last year, and so we did some remodels. And I get up in the morning at 5 a.m. I get my coffee. I turn on the fireplace and like nice soft lighting. And it's my favorite time of the day because nobody's awake. And so, I mean, my creative thinking is then. I mean, and my eyes aren't even open yet, and I'm in my PJs, but it's just that quiet, stillness where like nothing has bombarded your brain yet,
Yeah, well, your body and your brain adapts to a certain schedule too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm originally from Cleveland and I moved here in my late 20s, and I used to, I didn't have kids at the time, and so we'd go out all the time, and the bars were open until 2:30 in the morning there.
Oh, wow.
When I moved out here, a little beach town in Carlsbad, California, northern San Diego, everything closed at 9. And I'm like, what is going on?
Bars close at 9 o'clock too?
Yeah, a lot of, in the little beach area here. So it took some adjusting, but, almost 20 years later, the story is I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 5. So, well, let's get to it. So hopefully we got some folks that'll join us today. I think you've got so much value to bring, and I'm really excited to talk about your story. I think the timing is really, really good for this too, which is interesting because we booked this podcast before the awards.
Sure.
And now we get to put you on
a podcast
today, which is pretty cool. So all right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the We Love Deck Builders podcast, your go-to space for real conversations, real strategies, and real stories from the leaders shaping the deck building industry. I'm April Edwards. I'm the owner and growth strategist at Deck Builder Marketers, and we are your #1 partner for success in the deck building industry. We don't just manage campaigns. We drive your growth, help you dominate, and ensure your thriving success. Today, we're getting to know David Settlemyer, the leading designer at Under the Sun Concepts, a high-end design and build firm specializing in luxury outdoor living spaces. David's based in Colorado, and his company is renowned for creating custom decks, patios, pergolas, fire and water features, and pool spa integrations. Their work has earned international recognition and multiple awards for design excellence. UTS Concepts is dedicated to transforming outdoor spaces into luxurious, functional retreats, and their portfolio showcases a range of stunning projects. So join us today as we dive into David's approach to outdoor design and explore how UTS Concepts is shaping the future of luxury outdoor living. And might I add, multi-award winner as of recently. I mean, as of always, but we're just in January, first week or second week of January. So,
yeah. Well, another year, another round of awards.
Yeah. Just same old, right?
That's the goal.
David, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So for people that don't know you, give us a little background.
All right. Well, so I started in the landscape industry. My first job was planting trees through a tree nursery. That nursery evolved into landscape construction, and the owner kind of mentored me through how to create stunning visual effect with trees, plants, boulders, things like that. And I really grew a passion for it. It was probably 2 years that I did that before I moved on and went to another company. And after maybe a month, I was running that company. So I started to feel like I really had some knowledge. Um, I had something to show, from my training just a couple of years into it, and decided to start my own company. The guy that I was running his company for was out going to baseball games and playing golf all day. And I thought, man, that's what I want. But then I started my company and I realized that I didn't know how to run a business. And so I had to do everything myself, but it turned into a passion for me. And so I evolved that from landscape into more of an outdoor living space, building patios and fire features and things like that. That eventually moved into building decks too, as just part of that outdoor living space. After about 15 years of doing the landscape, architecture and builds, I decided to focus primarily on deck builds. And I came across NADRA and saw that they had an awards platform for what they offered to the industry. And I thought, man, the stuff that I design, I've gotten a lot of praise locally for that. But I wonder if, I focus some design effort into decks, if I would be able to qualify for a NADRA award. So I think it was 2019 is when I entered a first couple of projects and then ended up winning 2 awards. And I was super thrilled because those were just everyday projects for me. And to get some accolade for stuff that I was just doing every day kind of built a fire within me to focus on that and see if I could continue that. So that first year I won 2 NADRA awards. It was just a super huge honor for me to do so. But I focused my design efforts on actually building projects to win specific awards. That second year I went in and I won 10 on 10 projects. So everything that I entered won. And yeah, exactly. Wow. But that happened to be a COVID year. And, there was talk about closing everything down, not having the NADRA awards, maybe doing that online. I called Margie and I said, hey, Florida's open. If you guys want to do something in Florida, I'd be more than happy to come down and do that. I knew that I had some projects that were really capable of winning some awards. And to my surprise, they ended up doing so. And I was able to go live, go upstage, collect some awards, and really announce myself to the industry with the stuff that I had created the year before. But there weren't a lot of people entered that year. And so I thought, wow, I won 10 awards. Was that a fluke? And would people think of it that way? And so I concentrated my efforts the following year to kind of repeat that effort. And to my surprise, I did. And I won another 7 awards. And it's just continued with that year after year.
Yeah. So you are highly recognized. We've got Dylan. I don't know. Maybe Dylan Games 88. Do you know who this is from YouTube?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, he says, hey, guys.
Hey.
So, what's up, man?
Welcome to the podcast.
Tell us your name. Let Dave know if you have a question. So love it. Well, let's talk about the recent awards. So congratulations again. You had collaborations with Henhouse Decks, Raven Builders, and Northern Outdoor Living this year, right?
Sure. Well, the Northern Outdoor Living and Dan Pettit, he was a collaborator also with Kevin Chiquette and Everlast with the show booth that we created for the IBS show last year. So I haven't worked with Dan specifically yet, but we do have plans for that. Dan and myself are really good friends, and we definitely have plans to do something in the future. But collaborating with Kevin Chiquette, I've done that for a couple of years now. And then this is the first year of entering projects with Andy Henley.
Mm-hmm. All of you guys, true artists. I just think it. Yeah, seriously. What do you think these particular awards this year mean to you and your team?
They mean actually quite a bit more to me, helping and collaborating with other builders than when I was doing that previously just for myself. Mm-hmm. I decided to close my construction company about 2 years ago. And, I've been doing this for about 25 years. And after winning all those NADRA awards, I had reached a level of success that I was happy with. And the daily in and outs of construction were starting to weigh on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd actually gotten questioned a couple years prior if I was able to offer design services for other builders.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what better way to showcase my talents as a designer than to collaborate with other designers and see if we could still continue to win NADRA awards. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is the second year of myself winning awards, NADRA awards as the designer for other builders. And that is my main goal now, is to focus in that realm.
So you guys, listen. All right, I need some comments here. Come on, guys. Seriously, this is amazing. So other builders, like primarily what you're doing is you're helping other builders with their designs.
Correct. Yeah.
So
I'm 40 for 42 in NADRA entries right now. Only 2 projects that I've entered have not placed, and who knows, I may have gotten 4th place. I don't know. But 2 of those didn't get awards, but I think 40 out of 42 is quite a feat to pull off. And my goal is education and assistance. I'm open to teach, to encourage anybody in the industry and try and help elevate their skill sets, their companies and their markets and so forth. So yeah, that's just kind of where I've gravitated to.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious. I mean, how does somebody, where do I want to start? Like, I'm kind of curious to know somebody like, some of the folks that you've worked with, like what do your designs bring to the table that, maybe fill the gap in their own designs?
A lot of people come to me for problem solving. A lot of my awards come from projects that had very serious challenges to create those builds, and I'm always able to find a workaround for a certain problem. And I think that that's something that kind of separates me from a lot of people, is having the construction knowledge as a designer to know how things actually fit together. The engineering behind that. I'm an ICC certified contractor myself, so I'm, very highly into building code and, what it takes to build a project correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that a lot of people reach out to me for the help with that, but not just the problem solving, but the creativity too. That's something that I've always prided myself in, is having ideas that are different, unique, and separates myself from the rest of the industry.
All right, we got a comment here. Chad Furley, do you know him?
Yeah, I do. Chad Furley, PWT. So how did I learn how to bend boards? I sold a curved deck, and I thought, there is somebody in my area that can help me to bend those boards, whether it was renting equipment or turning it over to them to bend the boards for me. But there was nothing. And so I ended up having to buy the HeatCon heat blanket system to bend boards. Thankfully, the deck was an AZEK deck, which is all PVC, and those are actually the easiest boards of everything to bend. And so it was a kind of a small learning curve for me to be able to manipulate those boards and get those to fit where they needed to go. However, just selling that one curved deck and having to make that investment for that equipment was more than I was really capable of hanging on to. And so I thought, in my area, if there's nobody that can help other builders, there's certainly other builders around that need this service. So I started Colorado Board Benders, and that's a service that I have been offering locally for the last couple of years. And I enter all of the deck contractor trade shows, and I meet all of the other guys in the industry locally. And that first year I helped 5 contractors, which was great. It was just a little bit of side money, but helped me to recoup some of that investment cost. But last year that turned into 40 projects. And this year we're on track for 60 projects, and we just started, but we're booked for about a month bending boards for people all over the country now. So I have an order that's going to Miami here in another month. I got somebody else reached out to me yesterday from Florida. I don't exactly know where, but they need 8 boards bent. And so we figured out how to offer shipping for that stuff too at a reasonable cost. And though bending boards is not truly economical, the cost of a curved deck is usually more than the cost of a square deck. So there is money to throw around when needing that service. And because I have been offering the service to other contractors, I have not been stuck with working with a certain manufacturer of boards, such as the AZEC. I have to bend Trex and decorators and Timber Tech and Moisture Shield and all of that. And so it is a lot of trial and error, but the local suppliers usually have a boneyard of material where they have scrap boards, scratch and dent, stuff like that. And so I'm able to pick up boards for $20 or $30 instead of the $80 to $100 cost typically. And I get to do a little bit of practicing with that before moving on to the actual material that the contractors are in need of. So I think that from a bending standpoint, that's really elevated my game, being able to work with all the different manufacturers and find the nuances of each board. And every board has a different temperature that it wants to bend at. They all have their different issues with surface cap melt, things like that, that I've been able to really hone in and produce perfect boards for guys, because again, I can't send a guy a half-ass board. It has to be perfect. When they're paying the cost for that, that's their expectation.
Well, Chad Furley said rock star. I agree. I think what's so interesting about what you've told me so far is just that you've been able to really, like, your entire career, every step of the way, you've been able to hone in on what you really enjoy doing the most,
Sure.
what your brilliance is. And so how cool is it that you are doing bending boards for other people? Like, you definitely know your craft when you have to learn all of those different materials. That's really, really impressive.
Thank you.
We've got a couple more questions here. So Cassandra says, what was the biggest challenge you faced successfully?
The biggest challenge that I faced successfully was as a contractor. It's really difficult to work around the weather in our area, especially this time of year. You never know what to expect. Finding good employees, and I've trained a lot of guys in my career. I probably had 200 employees that worked for me, and I've always been an owner operator, so I've never had multiple crews of guys that I would send to multiple projects. We would all focus on one project, and a couple of the key guys that I've had in my career have moved on to start their own companies. So I find a lot of success with my education with those guys and building them up in the industry too. But replacing those guys has always been the challenge, and it's hard to find that 1 out of 100 guys that is capable of running a project or capable of learning, with basic construction. And the reason that I evolved into the design and like that board bending, kind of a side trade, was that those companies at the end were supporting the construction company, and from a financial standpoint. I was focusing on winning those NADRA awards as a builder. And a lot of the times when you're trying to prove yourself, you're putting more into a project than what the clients actually paid for. And it keeps profit levels low. But when I realized that I was supplementing $30,000 to $50,000 a year of income from my side hustles into the main company, I started to do the math and try to figure out how much money I could make if I actually closed the company down. And it was an impressive amount of money. So I think the biggest challenge for me was maintaining the construction company. It's the material shortages. And COVID had a lot to do with that too. I was booked solid. And then I couldn't get material. And then it was maybe in 3 months, maybe in 4 months, maybe in 6 months. And that really put me behind. 2021 was a year of trying to recover from that. And at the end of 2021 and going into 2022, it felt like a daunting task to maintain. And so I just decided to move on from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Running a business is not easy. Like, especially when you're an artist and what you want to do is create, and then you have to worry about employees and materials and all of these things. So again, really nice for you to realize, I'm always telling people, like, what are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you love doing? What do you hate doing? And that'll help you really figure out where your focus should be,
Yeah. And I realized that my passion was all around design. From the time that I started my company, I was 21, 22 years old when I started my first company. And I was building the nicest landscapes in every neighborhood that I went into. And I was actually getting a lot of recognition locally from that. And I was the designer for all of that with no education, no background, just the experience of working with the mentor that actually got me started into the field. And I only worked with him for about 2 years, but what he kind of instilled in me was to pay attention to other people's work and try and figure out how you could have done that better. And so my goal was to advance every project from the previous project and do a better job every time. And that all came through design. And so that's where my passion was. And, that's why I decided that I was going to focus on that. When I got into the 3D design programming and got away from graph paper and overhead design, that's where everything really started to evolve, because I could see what a project was going to look like when it was finished. And I was able to make those changes through the design process to be able to complete a project at the highest level.
Unreal. Let's see. We got Bobby here just dropping in now. Forgive me if this is discussed. Do people know the deck builders you design for, or do you work behind the scenes?
Do people know the deck builders I design for? Well, I try to get my name out into the industry. I've had several opportunities to do so. Magazine articles with deck specialists, JLC, stuff like that has kind of helped me to bring that out into the public. But I'm still building that clientele publicly. But I work with tons of guys in the industry. As you mentioned, with the NADRA Awards this year with Raven Builders and Andy Henley, there are several other contractors and projects that are going to be up for NADRA Awards this year that I've been working with. Tyler Anders, Hometown Builders, Mike Malkin and Daughters. O'Keefe Built, he's a contractor in my area. We were competitors for many years, but I've just picked up some design work from him. I work with tons of guys all over the place, and I actually have a goal that's called 50 for 50. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to win 50 NADRA awards in all 50 states, partnering with 50 builders from those states. Currently, I've got 16 of those states locked in and have won NADRA awards in 3 of those states at this point. But again, those 3 projects came from last year. And this next year with the NADRA awards, I believe that I'm going to be partnered with 15 builders, trying to gain 15 more NADRA awards.
That's pretty cool. You need to have like a map on your website that like says, which.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm working on all that.
I love it. So you and I got to hang out a little bit at the Deck Awards at the Deck Builder 101
Sure.
after party. And I approached you because earlier that day, Bobby Parks came up to me very serious. I mean, everything that comes out of that OG's mouth is very intentional and honest. And just had nothing but good things to say about you. And
Bobby's a great guy.
He really wants to see you succeed. And I think that goal is a really good goal to make him proud. So props to you for having, the old goat side. So
there's definitely people in the industry that put in a good word for me that I super appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so you work solo then, right? I mean, do you have your team members? Okay.
No, it's just me.
Okay. That's nice. Keeps it nice and lean, right?
Yeah. And I'm able to keep up on the workflow also.
Yeah.
I don't sit in front of the computer for 12 hours a day working either, so that's nice. I did spend 12 hours a day on job sites. So I was happy to get away from that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you miss being outside though?
Occasionally. Yeah, I definitely have the desire to build on a project here and there. And I do so when I travel across the country to work on some of my designs. So with Andy Henley, I actually went to Ohio and I did all of the stonework on the columns for the design that I created for his customer. And that's something that I offer because my skill set starting in landscape really took me into stonemasonry later in my career with that. And I considered myself to truly at heart be a stonemason. And even though I've gained most of my award and recognition through the deck industry, that is a passion for me. And so what I do is I offer those subcontractor abilities on my designs around the country, so that if one of these contractors needed to sub part of that project out, I'm available to take that on.
That's pretty impressive.
So it's nice to be able to, put in 10 days on a project or something like that in a different part of the country. And that satisfies me from that construction standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Plus you get to travel and go to some of those states.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hoping to get to all 50 states. If I'm designing for guys in all 50 states trying to win NADRA awards, it'd be really cool to actually have some hands-on portions of those projects.
Killing two birds with one stone, huh?
That's true.
I love traveling. I mean, I had an opportunity. We do these, we call them brand story days. And so I go out to a client's neck of the woods and bring a videographer, and we shoot all kinds of video testimonials of homeowners, interviews of them and their team, drone footage and photos and, video of their work and stuff like that. And I got to go to Des Moines, Iowa. Now I would have never said, oh yeah, I want to go to Des Moines, Iowa, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I think every place has something special to leave you, to leave you with. So anyway, I got to ask, how do you like Ohio?
Ohio is beautiful. I'd only driven through before, and to actually have the opportunity to stay there for 10 days and enjoy the scenery, the culture. It's in a very heavy Amish community, and the project was 40 minutes from the local gas station. Yeah, there was absolutely nothing in that area except for wildlife. I remember I had taken a phone call, and somebody on the phone said, "You're not in Colorado, are you?" And I said, "Why?" Because all the songbirds in the background. And it was great, to experience something like that. The absolute darkness at night with the lack of electricity in the area too. That was something really cool. And I hope to experience that in a lot of different parts of the country. Not just that in particular, but just what each individual area is like.
For sure. And you were there in the summer?
It was April.
Okay.
Late April. So, and the weather was great. It rained the whole time that we were there, which that kind of sucks for stonemasonry too. So we were building tents around everything and, trying to work around that. So, and that's just part of construction. Like I said, why I kind of got out of it too, is dealing with those weather and inclement days. And what do you do? A lot of times you can't work, when it's 20 degrees out and it's snowing. You try and cut deck boards and the surface chips, and so many different problems that come about.
So Bobby said this before when I was asking if you were solo. He says, keep it small and keep it off.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bobby's actually on my team. He's one of the copywriters, and so he likes to chime in and learn from you guys, so it helps what he does with his brilliance. But anyway, Bobby, myself, and Andy are all from Ohio. Now, Andy and I are from the same, area. Bobby's in Worcester. And so he wants to know what part of Ohio you were in.
I think it was Salesville. I'm sorry?
Hartsville?
No, it was not Hartsville. I know Hartsville was in the area, but I'm pretty sure that it was Salesville.
Okay.
But I'm not from the area, and I just was visiting, and I just went to the address that Google Maps told me to, and where Andy directed me to go. Andy was great the whole time. He hosted me while I was there. I took my construction partner. He's a good friend of mine that had worked for me for many years and was part of a lot of those NADRA awards, but it was the two of us that went down there, and Andy hosted us while we were there, took us out on four-wheelers, and got to ride through the woods and see all that stuff. And, so it was a good time.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. So Bobby, he's always posting pictures of, the Amish and stuff. And it's pretty cool. Did you get to see lightning bugs at all?
No, but I'm familiar with lightning bugs. My family grew up, I grew up with family in the Missouri, Oklahoma area. And so my childhood is full of those memories.
But no lightning bugs in Colorado. I don't know why. I always feel proud to ask people this.
The whole time that I've lived here my whole life, and we've never had lightning bugs until last year. And so I don't know if that's, something to do with the current climate situation or what the
Huh.
case is, but they are migrating into our area, and I have seen some recently.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know for the longest time that they actually, because when you see them come out, they surface from the grass and come up.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know about code. I mean, when you're doing designs all across the country, I mean, you got to have a lot in your noggin to be able to do all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's part of, in my area, you can't pull a permit unless you're ICC certified, unless you've taken that test and you can prove that you know how to navigate through a code book and you know how to find the information that you're looking for. So that was, part of my success and part of the ability to be able to design for guys around the country is having that base recipe to work off of, something that, that code is considered internationally,
Mhm.
and so as long as I can follow that, typically I can perform those designs to work in any area of the country. That also allows me to go to any jurisdiction and get a business license or get a construction license. That was big for me and my education of that. With that to have that as a requirement in my area, which I know a lot of areas in the country don't have that requirement. And that's what it was like here for many years too. You could just walk in and pay $200 and get a construction license. You didn't have to pass any tests. You didn't have to do anything like that. And I think that this has really helped to weed out those, random contractors, the guys that just decided to start a company that really didn't know what they were doing. And so I think that's something beneficial in my area. But again, every jurisdiction is different, even locally from town to town here. Some operate off of the 2021 IRC, some operate off of 2019 still, some of them are on 2023, so it's a big difference around here. But one of the main things is engineering. Here in my area, everything is required to have an engineer stamp on the plans too. And I know that's not the same around the country, but I do have to make that acknowledgement when I'm presenting somebody with a construction plan for the design that in their local area they may have to run that through an engineer.
We have sorry, I've been getting distracted. I'm listening and then there's a lot of people adding comments. So Starwood Wright said, "Hi April and Dave." Do
Hello.
you know who that is?
Not off the top of my head.
Who are you, Starwood Wright? Tell us.
And it's really difficult to determine who somebody is based on their social media presence too.
Give us more. You're leaving us in anticipation. Well, here's a good question. So when you're approaching a new project, how do you, this is going to be a long one. All right.
Okay.
Because I like to talk apparently. But when approaching a new project, how do you balance bold creative design ideas with practical considerations like climate maintenance and client lifestyle? And then I want to back that up with really like, how are you collaborating with other builders in terms of figuring out what the vision is going to be?
Sure. Well, it starts with the homeowner, obviously. Whenever one of the contractors or if it was myself locally went to meet with a new client, they certainly have their ideas on what it is that they want. And with most of the builders, they have that information to pass over to me, and it really doesn't require that homeowner interaction from my standpoint. However, I'm available, and I do offer that to get on a Zoom meeting with the contractor and those clients so that I can get firsthand information directly from that client. Everybody wants something different, and again, like I stated, a lot of guys reach out to me for problem solving. Maybe there's a request from a client that is maybe a little bit above what that contractor is typically going to offer their customer, but the budget's right. And that has a lot to do with it too. But at the same time, budget is kind of an irrelevant factor for me, because the same design that I would create for somebody in California has a way different budget than somebody in Missouri for the same project. And so it's really hard for me to kind of hone that project into a dollar figure, because at the end of the day, the contractor is going to take my design and put their numbers to it, and it's going to come up with a different number every time. as far as like, how do I balance the efforts on the project and the creativity to make it structurally sound too, it usually starts with problem solving first, whether it's an elevation challenge, a roofline challenge, door access, things like that. Those things have to be addressed first and foremost. And then once you address that, then you move into the structural part of it, of how do we support the beams? How do we keep views open out of windows, or accessibility out of doors open, and keep that safe? And then after that's established, then I can move into, how do we get creative with this? How do I camouflage like a post layout? Or how do I camouflage a fix to a certain element on a roof line? And then how do I beautify that afterwards? What can we do with flooring patterns to break up large spanses on decks? Where is the proper positioning of an outdoor kitchen where it's easily accessible out the back door? Or how does it showcase a view? You know, like somebody might have an incredible view out of their backyard, and when they're grilling and they're using their outdoor kitchen, they want to enjoy that. They don't want to be turned around from that. So a lot of the times I'll change a layout based on what a client's expectation was, as far as what their thoughts were originally on where it should be located, to where it fits into the structural components of the project, and how they're able to maximize the space.
Wow. So everybody, he just gave you his whole entire thinking process. So, I mean, I hope you guys are listening to this. Please chime in if you have any takeaways, or if you want to share your creative process, because that was pretty cool. I just think that, you know, I went to art school, and I'm a very picky designer still, and it's always problem solving, you know, and I think that if you do it well, it looks simple, but there's so much thought that goes into making it that way, you know. Have you ever been to Japan?
Nope, never been out of the country.
What? All right. Well, okay. So we're going to focus on the 50 states first, and then we're going to focus on the other countries. Okay.
All right.
For award-winning designs. All right. But I had a chance to go to Tokyo last year, and I was so impressed with just like the way the country was designed.
Sure. I've heard a lot of stories about that. In fact, you know, when I was in landscape, the guy that I started with, he had traveled to Japan, and he said that even on the sides of the roads, they manicure all of the trees. And they've been doing it for hundreds or thousands of years, or whatever the case may be, and said that if I ever had the opportunity to go, that I would absolutely fall in love with the area.
Yeah. It's just every experience is well thought out, from the way that they don't have trash cans. Everybody takes their own trash out. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like if you're on a bus or just whatever you're doing, it's just very well designed to create a good experience. And I mean, the whole place looks like it's an outdoor mall. It's so clean. It's crazy.
Hopefully I get a chance to go and see it someday.
Yes.
It might inspire me.
We'll have to do a GoFundMe to get Dave to Tokyo.
Let's do it.
So John Witt from Q-Tech is right. So now we got to know why you got a handle name like that. What is Start Wood Right? I said it wrong. Shame on me.
Well, with John, you have to start the wood right by staining it properly, and you have to use the Q-Tech.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, you just said it all. You don't even have to chime in, John. So what type of feedback from you know, your colleagues, clients, peers that resonates with you the most, and how does it shape your work?
Well, I mean, everybody's happy at the end. You know, if they're ending up with a NADRA award, certainly we both hit the expectations of the collaboration. You know, so the feedback is always appreciative, you know, and likewise for me, I'm always appreciative for the opportunity too. So
yeah. How about this one? Luxury outdoor spaces often push the limits of design. What's the most unconventional or daring idea you've brought to life, and how was it received?
So I would want to say that porch covers There's a couple that I've done that have curved roof lines to that. I did a roof line that I had never seen before, and it had to fit that way. It's the only way that we could make this work on the project. And I even asked my engineer, have you ever seen a roof line like this anywhere? I looked at architecture from around the world, and I had not seen an interior and an exterior curve pitching up to a steeple point, curving around a house back to square lines before. And it was something that I had never taken on before. And I got a lot of praise. I won a NADRA award for that particular open porch and that roof line. And I think that it was just the originality of that. But that came into the problem solving aspect of the project, is how do we create a roof line that fits onto the deck, fits onto the house, and was able to be functional. And so there's two of those that I've done in my career that had all that curvature to it. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in, being able to pull those off. But the roof lines and those porch covers were probably the most difficult projects that I've had to take on. So I'm really proud that I was able to pull those off. And a lot of the stuff that I do design, or that when I was a builder, is stuff that I had never done before. And so there's a lot of education and a lot of learning through the process.
I call that perseverance, though, and determination. I mean, you have to have a vision for something and not let anything get in the way of you solving that problem.
True. And then when it actually got to building it, I had the concept and I kind of knew how I was going to do that. But until you start building something that you've never done before, there's a lot of questions you didn't realize that you didn't know the answers to until you were presented with that problem. And so there's that perseverance of trying to figure out a workaround for issues. And I have a kind of a motto, a thought that there's a dozen ways to do something. You just have to find the one way that works. And as long as you realize that there's 12 different options, maybe you've only thought of 2 or 3 of them. But if you keep that in the back of your mind, that there's still 9 more options that you have to try and figure out, it'll keep you going.
Yeah, that's good. And that's why that's what separates the pros from the amateurs, is really taking on a challenge and solving that no matter what.
A lot of people are scared to kind of move out from what's comfortable. You see a lot of contractors that build the same thing over and over and over. And it might not just be that they're comfortable with that, but they've figured out a profit point that they want to maintain too. And that can be kind of the Achilles heel of somebody trying to move into nicer, more intricate design, is the fear of moving away from profitability also. And that's something that I've never shied away from. Certainly profitability is important, but for me, the design aspect of that, the final product, was more important than how much money was going to be made on it. And if I was able to hone my design efforts and my construction efforts throughout that, then I could transfer that to the next project and create that profitability because I had a baseline to work off of. But a lot of guys are scared to take that step.
I would say there's so much value in learning, right? Because that's long-term gain.
Certainly.
Yeah. I tell you what, like owning a business, it never stops.
Every day is a school day. Every day.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to tell my kids, like when school's over and you graduate, you can get stuck with where you're at if you don't advance yourself. And nobody's going to force education on you. You have to be willing to learn and grow at every step throughout your life.
Yeah. And not, one thing I try and teach say to my team is, like we all make mistakes. I mean, it's bound to happen, but what's important is that you learn from it, and then that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always reference the movie. How old are your kids?
I've got a 14, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old right now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So they're about to leave the nest. So lots of words of wisdom coming from Dad, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's not enough either.
But Meet the Robinsons is one of my favorite movies, and it really talks about the value of failure,
Sure.
and how like when you fail, it's actually a win, because you're learning from it.
Yeah.
Um, so I was kind of curious. Stone Decks. I mean, Stone Decks hosted that part of that Deck Builder 101 party. Have you, and since you've done stone and stuff in the past, have you used their material?
I
Or
never did personally when I
yeah.
was in the construction field, but I have been designing that into projects because
Mhm.
it's a natural next step for me. I've
Mhm.
always incorporated landscape into my deck design because in that outdoor living space, it's all inclusive. And to bring tile and stone and those different materials up onto a deck is kind of a new realm of the deck industry, and
Mhm.
their product certainly assists with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So anyway, I'm curious. So you're adding in landscaping and stuff. I mean, that's not very typical with a lot of deck builder.
No,
With
not with deck builders, but my company is Under the Sun Concepts, and it's
Mhm.
because I design everything under the sun.
Mhm.
It's not just decks. I started as a landscape architect. Well, I can't call myself an architect because I haven't graduated from architecture school. I'm all self-educated, so I'm a designer. But I mean, it's the architecture of the project, and because I have that background, plus the background in patio, water feature, fire features, things like that, that I'm able to help other contractors in the industry. And I don't just focus on deck design through my company. I have local contractors that I design landscapes for, and I design patios for, swimming
Okay.
pool, things like that. So whenever that comes up as a request or something that's in need on a project, I'm certainly capable of handling all of that.
I forgot to ask you, for our listeners, what was that project that they could look up on the NADRA website that you won that had the curved roof, the covered porch?
So that was, I believe, a 2021 NADRA award. Maybe that was the 2022 awards. Um, it was called Crestview.
Okay.
So if they wanted to look that up and find the Crestview project,
Yeah.
that's the one that was my first interior and exterior curved roof with a steeple pitch.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm kind of curious. Are you backed up with work right now? Because I feel like you should be.
Yeah. I mean, every day something else falls in my lap, you
Mhm.
know. I find myself working on really big, serious projects about twice a month. And
Okay.
then I have a lot of fill-in stuff, which are pretty simple decks with construction plans, things like that. And I try to help everybody.
Yeah.
Although that my personal focus is on the NADRA awards and those collaborations,
Mhm.
there's a lot of need for guys that just need to get to work, and they need a layout plan to present to their client, and they need plans to be able to submit for a permit. So I try to help everybody out, and I find myself pretty busy. Um, I work 5 days a week, like just about anybody. And so I'm
Mhm.
fortunate to have, 5 days of work every week to be able to work.
Yeah. I hear that. You mind if I do a little screenshot of your website?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So, for the listeners, go to utsconcepts.com, and I'll do my best to kind of show you some things that I'm seeing here. But I'm checking it all out as Dave's talking here, and it's so cool. Okay, great. So, you guys can see it. So, experienced designer of award-winning outdoor spaces with 13 for is that accurate?
Definitely no, that needs to get updated now.
All right.
I think it's 16,
Yeah.
16 first place awards and 40 total design awards.
Mhm. Yep. So we need to get this updated. But
Absolutely.
anyway, this work is incredible. We've got some kind of mosaic style, and you could cut in at any time, but
Sure.
mosaic style inlays on a curved deck. And then what is this? This looks like maybe some cut logs with resin
Absolutely.
or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that, when I went in that second year to the NADRA awards, that was one of the projects that I knew was going to win an award.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident that I've never seen anything like that before. And I
Mhm.
had that concept in the back of my mind for about 11 years before I actually figured out how to pull it off.
Mhm.
Um, so that particular project has 6 varieties of wood in there, and they're all hardwoods.
Mhm.
and the color combinations were just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
something completely original, and I was fortunate to be able to pull that one off.
Yeah, so I'll kind of describe it with there's different sizes of the cut logs and colors, and it just looks really organic. And the way that he shaped the deck almost looks like a waterfall. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining that, but hey, it's art and I'm interpreting it.
Yeah.
And then there's a built-in. Is this gas? Is this a
No,
gas?
that's wood burning, which is really cool
Wow.
because the wood
Yeah.
burning feature in the middle
Yeah.
of a wood deck.
Right.
But it's surrounded by landscape boulders throughout.
Uh-huh.
It's all concrete based. The fire pit itself is recessed probably about 18 inches into the deck so that it contains heat
Yeah.
and keeps that fire spread from happening.
Yeah, so cool. And then here's like a nice curved deck and the railing and everything goes around this tree here. So good looking
And
out for the tree.
I try to work around the existing features in a
Yes.
landscape or in the yard. As a landscaper, the last thing I want to do is cut down a tree.
Yeah.
If we can work around that, even better.
And explain the color selection and the material in this one because guys, it's really unique. It's instead of just using the same board color, he's diversified it throughout.
Sure. And that particular project just has a couple of shots of that, but what that was two separate deck designs, and the client liked both of the layouts and both of
Mhm.
the color combinations. They had a garage door that they had recently had done, and it was very multicolor. And they asked if they could use deck boards to kind of mimic that. And I
Mhm.
was all for it. But what that deck ended up was two decks built into each other. So the layout pattern on that deck is the shape of one of the decks that were proposed inside of one of the larger deck shapes that was proposed. And
Mhm.
I don't know if I have the drone picture of that project on the website, but it's a very impressive layout.
Yeah.
That particular picture does not showcase
Mhm.
the what the full project is like. But
Yeah.
I've always and I think that that's what people really got to know about me originally was the use of multiple colors of
Yeah.
boards and decks and those kind of random Ashlar layout patterns.
Uh-huh.
It's just something that I had never seen before, and I guess not a lot of other people had done up to that point.
Uh-huh.
And now I see that a lot more that people are using different colors.
You guys, I mean, I'm so impressed. The work here, seriously, each piece is unique in its own. It's like a whole different painting. And if you look at the way that he has done these inlays and the layers in the decks, I guess is a good way to say it. It's amazing. Like the one I'm looking at right now, it looks like a river running through the deck. The lighting here was Dan a part of this one at all? I know he's the
No,
lighting guy. Okay.
yeah, no, he's definitely has his own genius in what he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, he does.
But I'm a very colorful person, and I want my projects to be full of color and life.
Uh-huh.
I really hate to see a deck that's all one color.
Mhm.
The one on the bottom right that you happen to see right there
Mhm.
had a lot more going on with the project that allowed for the same color to be used throughout.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that I pulled that one off beautifully just using one color. And that's working against my norm
Mhm.
for what it is that I create. But, speaking of that inlay and those different patterns,
Mhm.
I've won first place NADRA Inlay Awards every year that I've
Mhm.
submitted in that particular category.
Yeah, I mean, they're all different. So the one I'm looking at here, it's got like diamonds and curves and 3 different colors in it. This is stone down here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we mimicked the same patterns between the patio and
Oh,
the deck
and
up above.
how I mean, how long does it take you to do this? This is insane.
Oh yeah. That was a 6-month project.
Wow. This is amazing. I mean, that really shows your brilliance from, composite to stone.
Yeah.
How incredible.
And so that's, in my local area, although, I'm known more around the country and around the community as a deck builder,
Mhm.
I'm a landscaper and I'm an outdoor living space builder
Mhm.
locally. And again, starting out in that hardscape realm is something that I always incorporate into my full scale projects.
Jeez. Okay, so the one where he was talking about it just being one color, he's got like steps going up to, what would you call this? It almost looks like a gazebo area.
Yeah. So there's actually a curved pergola that wraps the entire lower area of that deck. It creates an amazing ambiance in the backyard, shade, privacy from the neighbors. It's one of those houses that is on the lower side of a hill, and there's a house behind them, or a whole nother street of houses behind them that looks down into the property. And so that pergola and its exact placement actually provides all of the privacy that those people needed from the neighbors behind them.
Wow. But what I wanted to really showcase was he used one board color, but the way that he laid the boards out, it's really cool. Like it kind of, it's weird. It like, not weird, but it almost frames the gazebo area. And then it's like this artistic, like modern feel on the lower level. Just with using one board color and the way that he chose to lay the boards. And then this one down here in the bottom right, it's multiple board colors and sizes and all kinds of like diagonal directions. But then again, they have, you're doing this thing with the steps.
So that design started as an accident. The design
program, little accident.
Yeah. I was taught by my grandfather when I was a kid that a true artist can turn a mistake into a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've never been scared to try something bold and new.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the result of a mistake, and it turned out phenomenal. That particular project got the cover of Deck Specialist magazine back in March and April of last year.
Nice. Very nice. Now, did I happen to go past the covered patio that had the curve?
So just go back to that main screen. Just exit out of that thumbnail. Okay. It's the one right in the middle on the bottom.
Okay, this one.
Yeah. So
interesting.
We have that large exterior circle around the back side of it, but the two interior cut-ins to the circle on the front side. Mm-hmm. And then the way that transferred into that corner of the house. Mm-hmm. That was the one that I won first place on in my first really crazy porch cover. That took a lot to figure out from a framing standpoint, how to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shingle work on top of that.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Almost every shingle had to get cut to be able to pull that off. And it took 9 days just to shingle that.
Geez, it's like a mosaic pattern of shingles, you guys. It almost looks like a basket weave, honestly. How cool. Well, I am thoroughly impressed. So, guys, go to utsconcepts.com and check out some of David's work. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. I got to stop. There's too much to look at.
My idea was to have a never-ending portfolio of work, and you can literally scroll down for 3 minutes before you get to the end of all of the pictures. And so that's not even everything, but that showcases most of my career and things that I've done throughout. And there's at least 100 projects worth of top-notch pictures on there. So,
well, artist to artist, I'm very impressed. So props to you. I've got one last question. Looking ahead, what trends or innovations do you see shaping the future of luxury outdoor living? And how is UTS Concepts positioning itself to lead in this space?
Well, as you mentioned, stone decks and their system to be able to add different materials to a deck other than just a deck board. I think that's transformational in the industry to be able to offer something like that from a designer's standpoint. I think that the deck industry alone is moving into the full outdoor living space and not just the deck. More and more you see that incorporation of fire features and water features, louvered pergolas, automation is a big one. I think that's something that I really started to get into towards the end of my construction career, was full project automation. And being able to turn anything on and off at the click of a button off of one individual controller, instead of having a separate controller to turn on your fire feature or a separate controller to turn on your lighting. Lighting is something that's huge also, and what's growing trend in the industry is the RGB lighting and having the ability to do multiple color layouts. Being able to create an atmosphere for specific occasions, whether it be pinks and so forth for girls' birthday parties, or whatever the kid's favorite color is. Having outdoor entertainment such as sound systems and TVs, really bringing that interior to the exterior of the house and being able to enjoy the full backyard experience without having to go to a specific venue to do so. I think that those are all things that are really growing in the industry. And then that automation of the projects really helps to hone all of that into a functional, useful experience too. So that's where I see everything. There's kind of a blend that's going on between landscape and deck. And, that whole outdoor living space is just what everybody's looking for anymore. They want to be able to go and sit out at the fire while they're watching the football game at, whatever o'clock at night it is, and having heaters in their spaces too, so they can enjoy colder nights and still be able to utilize their spaces throughout the entire year. So it's constantly evolving, and I really enjoy seeing where it's moving into.
So many exciting things. And so for anybody listening, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows what you mean by automation, but that's basically like with those louvered pergolas, they'll open and close depending on the weather, like automatic. Yeah. So impressive. It'll be so cool to see what's in store at the Deck Awards next year.
Really?
How cool. Okay. Any last words of wisdom, advice for our listeners?
Try something new. Work outside of your box. You've heard the term think outside of the box, but if you just realize that there's no box, you don't ever have to work outside of it.
The world is your oyster, right?
It is.
I love it. Well, David, it was really nice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, and sharing all your expertise. I mean, you just gave away all your design thought process.
I definitely kept a lot of stuff locked away.
Okay.
I have to keep my relevance in the industry, and I can't let anybody take away from that.
So before we wrap up, though, let everybody know how they could work with you and find you and, kind of what that process looks like.
Sure. Going onto the website, I have a contact form that you can get on and fill out. Reach out with any questions, any social media as well. It's UTS Concepts or Under the Sun Concepts throughout Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where we showcase all of our design videos and a lot of our finished and completed projects through the NADRA Awards the last couple of years. So you can go on and take a look at that stuff, but shoot out a message, just inquire. That's all you have to do. I'll follow up, make sure that we get something scheduled. We can do Zoom calls, we can do phone calls, we can do social media calls, texting, any of that stuff. I'm available for all of it.
He makes it easy, you guys. So if you're ready to take your work to the next level and create some amazing luxury outdoor living spaces, I don't know why you wouldn't at least inquire.
I still have 35 states available for the 50 for 50. So that's the goal, is to win a NADRA Awards in all 50 states. So, if you're outside of Colorado, reach out and let's get something on the books.
Yep. Help make this a reality, guys. And it looks like Dan showed up. He said curved decks are hard.
So Dan's a really cool guy. I love this guy. I just produced a music video and a country music song for one of my Colorado board benders company. And he's referencing some lyrics to that.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. A little inside joke that we were lucky enough to get in on.
But yes, curved decks are hard. And if all you've ever built is a square or rectangle deck, there's a lot of adaptation to the structure and the final product to be able to pull those off. And they are difficult. So if you want to kind of increase your workflow abilities, your skills, try to add some curvature. I know that a lot of clients that I met with, the wife always wants the project to flow. And what better way to flow than with curved lines?
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. So make sure that make the customer's wife happy here. All right. All right. Thanks again for joining us. And for those listening at Deck Builder Marketers, we help deck builders create marketing systems that attract the right clients and give you more control over your business. so you can stay focused on what you do best, like building amazing outdoor living spaces that win awards. If you're ready to create a marketing system that actually works for you, book your free consultation at deckbuildermarketers.com/growth. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, follow, and leave us a review. It helps us reach more deck builders, and it truly means a lot to our team. We'll also be posting upcoming podcast episodes on the deckbuildermarketers.com website, so you can plan ahead. And we'll drop the link in the description once it's live. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, keep moving forward.
Thank you.
See ya.